Let's take a trip across the pond to the United Soviet European Empire, the Soviet Union Empire. Kids coming in to grab a phone and then to close the door. We are taking a trip across the pond to get to the UK hellhole that it is. I forget where it even came across my table that I was on Twitter doom scrolling, and it was either in response to a video or it was a video that popped up on my feed from Rebel News. Geez, I wish I could remember my own life. I mean, it only happened this morning and it sent me down the rabbit hole I'm familiar with right now. But I want to see if I can find the original tweet. It was Rebel News UK. No, I'm going to put out a tweet that's going to say Rebel News. Rebel News UK arrest. Let me see if I can find the Facebook post. It was did I comment on it? Give me 1 second to find it, because it's just if I can get the timeline. Here, scroll down, breaking news. This is when I was sent down the rabbit hole. This was it. No, I'm not going to find it. Well, it's a shame. I won't find the original tweet, but if someone does find it, it was an Irish or British man talking about the arrest of a woman in the UK, the arrest and conviction of the wife of a city councilman for alleged inciting hatred or racial hatred via a social media tweet, and she was apparently sentenced to 31 months in prison. The story is mind-blowingly horrendous, and I don't think enough people know about it because I live and breathe the internet, and I didn't know about it, so I presume a lot of other people also did not know about it. The details are outrageous, and you have difficulty believing that it's reality, but it's reality. Here, let's just break up the tweet here. There we go. It's an article from the BBC. Woman jailed for race hate post on X loses her appeal. And you go to the article and you read the article. Connolly posted the swear word ridden message on a 29 July 2024, the day 3 girls were murdered at a dance class in Southport. This was at the same time when the government was banning who could say what as relates to that stabbing, because they didn't want to create racial disharmony in the UK. Here, I'm going to pull up the article itself, and we can read that in its entirety. But what's amazing is how they described it. While calling for, quote, mass deportations now, the 41-year-old childminder, I guess that means mother, in the UK, her being a mother, and by the way, she had one of her own children that died tragically. I don't know the circumstances of it, some 12 years ago, which explained why she was so emotionally distraught after 3 girls were stabbed to death by someone who turned out to be not what the media said he wasn't. It says she urged readers to, quote, set fire to, quote, all the hotels that were, quote, full, end quote, of those she wished to deport. Read that again. She urged readers to, quote, set fire, end quote, to, quote, all the hotels, end quote, that were, quote, full, end quote, of those she wished to report. Why wouldn't they just include the tweet in its entirety? Oh, we're gonna get there in a second. Why wouldn't they just quote the tweet in its entirety, as opposed to spending 3 lines quoting from it, but then editorializing, quoting from it, then editorializing? I'll tell you why they wouldn't do that. Because they're a bunch of dirty, bastard, scoundrel liars. Here's the article. Are we seeing the article? Let me see if we're reading the same thing here. We're reading the same thing. Good. Here's the article from the BBC News, and this is from May 20th, 2025. Woman jailed for race hate post on X loses appeal. Conservative councillor. Oh, even more interesting. A conservative councillor's wife who was jailed for inciting racial hatred after an online rant against migrants on the day of the Southport attacks had her appeal against her sentence dismissed. Lucy Connolly from Northampton was jailed for 31 months in October after calling for she's been in jail since October after calling for, quote, mass deportations now and urging her followers on X to, quote, set fire, end quote, to hotels housing asylum seekers. Just remember the word urging. Words are the tools of the trade when you're a lawyer, and they're the tools of the trade when you're a journalist. And they're the tools of the trade when you're a filthy, gosh-forsaken, demonic propagandist, wordsmith of the devil. She urged her followers to do these things. Tweet was viewed 300,000 times before it was deleted. Her husband says he's heartbroken. Connolly posted the swear word written. Blah, blah, blah. After that, okay, fine. Here we can skip here. Let's just see. Does the written judgment come up? Yeah. By the way, you don't get the tweet in the article, and I'll skip to the portion of it which has the tweet. This is from the actual judgment itself, and they're not criminalizing speech in the UK. It's not gone full tyrannical, but this is on their own publication. This is on the website of whatever government website this is. Cases. Listen to the warning in red. Read it and understand the onus and the burden that it purports to impose on anyone who even wants to report on what the court has made public. Read this out loud. Warning. Reporting restrictions may apply to the contents transcribed in this document, particularly if the case concerned a sexual offense or involved a child. Reporting restrictions prohibit the publications of the applicable information to the public or any section of the public, in writing, in a broadcast, or by means of the internet, including social media. Anyone who receives a copy of this transcript is responsible in law for making sure that that applicable restrictions are not breached. A person who breaches a reporting restriction is liable to a fine and or imprisonment. For guidance on whether reporting restrictions apply and to what information, ask the court office or take legal advice. I admit I don't exactly know how this could possibly operate. If you can get access to these and they're unredacted, or if they publish them to the public and they don't redact the alleged private information, and if you share what they've published online to a broader community, you can face a fine or imprisonment. I have no doubt. Onus is on you. I've got two big fat middle fingers for the authorities in the UK who think this is somehow proper or appropriate. Here, I don't know if there's any publication restrictions on this. This is from them. This is from the BBC. This is already on the internet. Kiss my hairy tushy if you think I'm not going to get to refer to the document that you've made public yourselves under penalty of law. I got to go hire a lawyer to find out what I can report in this document that you've made public. But serenity now, go to paragraph 4. The applicant, then aged 41 and employed as a childminder, someone's going to have to tell me what that means, had an account on the X platform with some 9,000 followers. At 8:30 that evening, she published the following message, quote, "Mass deportations now. Set fire to all the fucking hotels full of the bastards for all I care. While you're at it, take the treacherous government and politicians with them. I feel physically sick knowing what these families will now have to endure. If that makes me racist, so be it." Remember in the BBC article, it said she urged her followers to do something? Again, maybe someone's going to accuse me of being the wordsmith of the devil. But urging to me means go out and do it. When the qualifier in the statement is for all I care, that to me does not sound like urging anyone to do anything at all, full stop. That almost sounds like the indifference that it is. Maybe she doesn't care if it happens. And maybe it could have been phrased better. I don't know. Maybe under UK law, this would still be illegal, as apparently it is from this order. To me, urging someone is not for all I care. It's like when your kid comes up to you and they're eating candy, you're like, eat the entire bag for all I care, make yourself sick. You're not urging them to do it at all. What you are doing is resigning yourself to what children are going to do regardless, saying, I don't really care, go make yourself sick. Did I just break something? I didn't. But do tell me, am I being the wordsmith of the devil, sneaky deaky lawyer saying, well, when she says, go burn the place down for all I care? That's not urging anybody to do anything in my mind. That is indifference to what others might be doing. Confirmed on appeal. Sentence of 31 months upheld. I want to try to find one of the paragraphs down here that's just gonna blow your mind. Analysis. There was a part where she was talking about the fact that her child had died. Let me see here. I'll just see if I can find it quickly. When interviewed under caution following her arrest, the applicant admitted that she had posted the tweet. She said that her own child had died in horrendous circumstances and that the stabbings of the children in Southport had put her into a rage. She said she felt she She said she felt hatred about the incident and the circumstances, not about race. She said she had taken the post down because she realized it was wrong. Later in the interview, she said her tweets were not racial and she had no intention to cause hate or racial issues. But by the way, this is one part of it that's amazing here. The law. This is the law in the UK. A person who publishes or distributes written material which is threatening, abusive, or insulting is guilty of an offense if he intends thereby to stir up racial hatred, or B, having regard to all the circumstances, racial hatred is likely to be stirred up thereby. Do you understand the massive distinction there? And it's one that's going to blow your freaking mind. One is intent, mens rea, and the other one is you don't even have to intend for it to do it if it's likely to happen under the like if you say, yeah, the kid who stabbed the 3 white girls at a Taylor Swift dance show was, I want to say Nigerian, but now I forget, Rwanda. It was Nigeria, was a recent convert to Islam, allegedly had a book, the Quran, or had Al-Qaeda training materials by his side. If you say that, and that's likely to stir up racial hatred, you could still be guilty, even if it's true and even if you didn't even have the intent. But if you had any doubts as to my legal interpretation, read paragraph 16. As is clear from section 19(1), the offense may be committed either by publishing the offending material with the intent to stir up racial hatred, or by publishing it without such intent, but in circumstances where it's likely to stir up racial hatred. In the present case, the prosecution made it entirely clear from the outset of proceedings that the allegation against the applicant was that she had acted with intent to stir up racial hatred. So in this case, she had the intent. You don't even have to have the intent in the UK to be found guilty of this. And then they get into, yeah, we feel bad that her child died. But she didn't. The judge was assisted with the pre-sentencing report. This referred to the very sad fact that in 2011, the applicant's son, then aged 19 months, had died in circumstances which had given rise to complaints of negligence against the medical practitioners who had treated the child. The death of the child had affected the applicant's mental health, with a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. The author of the PSR, that is the pre-sentence report, recorded that the applicant had experienced that the events in Southport had brought back memories and emotions relating to her own loss, and had said that she acted out of a desire to protect her own and others' children. The PSR also noted that the applicant, when questioned by the author, had denied that her tweet had any racist undertones or could incite hatred or violence, and had downplayed her behavior. The author assessed the applicant as having failed sufficiently to consider the consequences of her actions, particularly in the context of the influence of social media and her underlying racist attitudes. There's a part that gets even worse. In his submission, this paragraph 26, Ms. Muir made it clear that notwithstanding what she had said, the author of the PSR, the applicant stood by her guilty plea and that she had put forward, yada, yada. He submitted that the applicant had been devastated by what happened in Southport, especially given her own child loss, and that her tweet had been an expression of her true feelings rather than an attempt to exploit the Southport tragedy. He pointed to private messages which the applicant had sent, in which she said that she could not stop crying and thinking it could so easily be our kids, and said that she had become, quote, incandescent with rage. Mr. Muir also referred to her tweet in the 30th of June, yada, yada, yada. He emphasized that the offending tweet had been posted before the outbreak of any violence. Mr. Muir then referred to tweets which the offending tweet had been reposted to. There's a part where they say she didn't wish them well of the other. We feel bad for her. Was this the part here? Yeah, this is it. Paragraph 31. Wait until you read this. She may have gone through her own loss, devastating loss of a child, arguably at the hands of medical malpractice at a hospital staff. She may have had post-traumatic stress disorder. She may have been in a rage and out of her mind when she did this. But she didn't express her rage properly. She didn't. Listen to this. The judge accepted that there were mitigating factors which he listed. He took into account the absence of any previous convictions, the character references, the effect on the applicant's daughter, she's a mother, and the fact that the applicant would be serving a first custodial sentence in the present prison conditions. He accepted that although the tweet had been widely read, the applicant had not repeated any such statement, had in due course taken it down, and had sent some of the messages to the effect that violence was never the answer. In relation to the death of the applicant's son in 2011, the judge said this. Listen to this. You may have had tragedy in your own life with the loss of your very young child some years ago. I have read the psychiatric report from some 12 years ago as to the psychiatric difficulties you then suffered. I accept that you still very keenly feel that loss. Oh, thank you, Your Honor. I still feel the loss some 12 years later of my child. There is no recent psychiatric evidence, and whilst you may well have understood the grief of those who suffered their own tragic losses in Southport, you did not send messages of understanding and comfort, but rather an incitement to hatred. There is no evidence of any mental disorder having any material effect on you committing this offense. Similarly, while I accept you regret your actions and their effect upon you, I have been referred to messages in which you say you disagreed with racism and violence. It is clear from the evidence, from your own words in the days following your actions, what you said to the police. Don't talk to the police, people. And what you said to the probation officer, that you have little insight into or acceptance of your own actions. We'll stop it right there. How disgusting is that? Some disgusting sack of crap sitting on a bench saying, yeah, I appreciate you lost your own child some 12 years ago. Oh, I'm sure you must still be upset about it. But you didn't use it to wish well or well with. No. You didn't act properly. You didn't respond properly. 31 months in jail. And that was after they reduced it some because, she cooperated with the state. And don't go to the UK, people. And if you're in the UK, get the hell out. Let's see what this was about here. Those were the highlights of the decision. Absolutely atrocious. I wanted to highlight something that, reporting on facts, if it's likely to stir up racial hatred, you don't even have to have the intent to do it. If it does it, then you might still be a problematic. Well, and I guess you can't talk about the Pakistani rape gangs in England anymore because just talking about it might stir up racial hatred. Just identifying the fact that it was, by and large, Pakistani rape gangs, by and large, grooming white British girls. Noticing that might stir up racial hatred. Well, the BBC's in big fucking trouble then. I mean, look what I screen grab just in case they decide to take it down out of fear of being prosecuted. But something tells me the BBC, the state-funded propaganda, they don't get prosecuted. Separately, Zara also alleged that she was abused by another man from a British Pakistani background. Oh, that's interesting. British Pakistani background, okay. Who is due to go on trial. Zara said that the alleged abuse, to me, in my head, he was my boyfriend. He didn't abuse me straight away, so I was convinced it was a normal relationship. Zara, who is a mixed English and Asian background, said it was easy for me to accept the flattery and compliments. Well, let's keep going here. What was this one? What data on grooming gangs shows? Better not speak too much truth there, BBC. It might incite racial hatred. The BBC has obtained new police data on the ethnicity of suspected arrests. The BBC has obtained new police data on the ethnicity of suspects arrested on suspicion of gang grooming offences in England and Wales in 2024. The National Police Chiefs Council, NPPC, figures indicated that British Pakistanis were substantially overrepresented among the suspects. What in the name of sweet holy hell is a British Pakistani? What the F does that even mean? Oh, but don't comment on the fact that Pakistani Muslim men are statistically overrepresented in the suspects of rape gangs. If you report that, how is that not inciting hatred? BBC, who are the authors in this article? Sean Seddon and Yang Tian? Jail. Doesn't matter that you didn't intend to do anything. Doesn't matter that what you were speaking was the truth. You've just violated the law. In 2024, grooming gang suspects, where an ethnicity was recorded, just over half were white British, and around 1 in 8 were British Pakistani, even though 1 in 40 people in England and Wales were of Pakistani heritage, according to the 2021 census. Better watch what you say there, peeps. It's a little bit too much truth. It might stimulate a little bit too much anger. that might cause people to publicly complain about immigration policies that have resulted in this disastrous rapist devastation that you have going on in the UK. The fact that the woman is a conservative councilman's wife, you think they're not trying to make an example out of her for the other conservatives out there who might criticize British policy that has allowed for an all-out invasion of the country and the ensuing consequences, the ensuing devastation, and then the ensuing cover-up because they didn't even want to report on the stats of the grooming gang ethnicity because it might stoke racial hatred? 31 months in jail. I couldn't believe it. And as I went down that rabbit hole and found the decision itself, it was true. Stay the hell out of England, people. That's that. All right, let's go see what's going on in the chat.